Welcome back to LEGO Wars and our 5th annual International Special. Over the years, the International Special has seen some of the closest battles and biggest upsets in the series, and looking at this year's lineup, this could be the best special yet, so without further ado, let's see who will be fighting tonight.
First, from the USA and reigning champion, Ripperoni.
Last year's champion ripped up the script as they became the second US champs, but their form has been shaky since that title, so let's see if they can pull it back tonight.
From England, Agrawalber.
The top axe spot in the series is yet to win an international fight and will hope third time's the charm as they look to return to form.
From Iceland, Katonamoidium.
Our other veteran axe has switched allegiances to Iceland this year after OG Hello There's builder Ryan went on holiday there last December. Yes, we're using classic Robot Wars tenuous links, don't at us.
From Norway, Disgruntled Guardian.
Making their series debut tonight, Disgruntled Guardian has been pretty nippy in testing and could be a surprise package in this year's special.
From Germany, Flashover Delta.
The newest Flashover has gone back to its vert roots from its brief Series 2 appearance, and after ripping everything up in its path during testing, this could finally be its time to shine.
From France, Lemmings.
Now, the script tells me I should be using a terrible French accent here, but I'm tired and I need sleep, so enjoy these mini-bots.
From Italy, Mastiff.
In its 4th international appearance, Mastiff has gained a cult following at this point after infuriating its creator and will probably do more of the same tonight, much to my despair.
From England, Monsoon.
After a promising run in the main series, Monsoon makes their international debut tonight, having promised to fix their continual chain snapping from last year.
From Scotland, Mr. Waffle.
The breakfast machine has reverted back to their old weapon stack after the failed test in Champions and will be one to watch in this special.
From Australia, Muffin.
The Crusher Bot makes their debut in International tonight with their improved ground game on the lower jaw to help aid their surprisingly good pushing power.
From Canada, Nightmare.
Our Battlebricks rep has an interesting record in International after pushing Atlas for a top 4 finish in 22, only to get one hit KO'd by Tweepy last year, so let's see if it'll be a feast or a famine this time.
From Ukraine, Omeganator.
With the veterans bumped back to reserve duty in the main series, this may be Omeganator's only chance to shine this year, but they've slain giants in this special before, so let's see if tonight brings more success.
From Wales, Panic Attack.
The long-time Welsh rep has an awful record in international specials after crashing out in the first round 3 times, so let's see if they can finally break that streak tonight.
From the Netherlands, Petunia.
The first international champs have been off their form recently, so now would be a good time to show they're still one of the toughest bots in the series.
From Japan, Project Shadow.
With King B's retirement and Bowser's flaky form, Project Shadow has stepped up to be Japan's flag bearer, and going by their champions form, they're primed to spring an upset.
From Northern Ireland, World War M.
The Northern Irish bot is back in its favourite hunting ground, where they've never failed to make round 2, and even now in the face of stiffer opposition, it'll be dangerous to bet against them, making another deep run. Let's see how the left-hand side of the bracket lines up. We'll begin with our defending international champs Ripperoni facing stiff opposition against Scotland's best breakfast Mr. Waffle, followed by series debutants Disgruntled Guardian against Canadian stalwarts Nightmare. First international champs Petunia are up next against Project Shadow, and then it's the third Wars champs Agrawalber against World War M. Moving further down, it's Monsoon and Flashover Delta making their international debuts against one another before the defecting Kato takes on Omeganator, and we'll end tonight with Muffin versus Panic Attack and Mastiff v Lemmings. We're all in terrible danger for that fight. Anyway, with the lineup set, let's pass over to Sam and kick on with the action.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
And so the LEGO Wars 5th International Special is underway. Ripperoni, our champions and holders of the international title representing the USA. Once again, Mr. Waffle representing Scotland in its 3rd international appearance, of course. They formally, I was going to say their best result was a top 16 pit placing in the past, but they've immediately caused all kinds of carnage in the arena because the Bacon Blade has come flying off. But Ripperoni's weapon as well as split, look, it can't spin. And that could be, crucial fight damage there, because if you look at, Mr. Waffle, it has got the better platform for kind of pushing and controlling fights, kind of like, dare I say, if you squint, kind of looking a bit like, Brutality from BattleBots of the past, or Perfect Phoenix as it's now known. And Ripperoni almost in the pit there, they almost fell foul to Mr. Waffles, and it's kind of deceptively good pushing power. Ripperoni, of course, international champions. They won last year, beating Kronzblow, of course. Hasn't really had the best of form since then, though. It kind of had that immediate bright spark at the start of the competition, at the start of their career almost. And since then, it's all been a bit lackluster. New frame on Ripperoni as well this series. Will it be enough to get them past a sturdy and resolute Mr. Waffle? So far, I'd say pretty even between the two. Although, of course, that damage on Mr. Waffle is a lot more visible, a lot more graphic than maybe it is on Ripperoni. Ripperoni are having to box clever now. They're using their kind of little tongue at the front, the little side wedge to get in underneath and cause issues for Mr. Waffle. Mr. Waffle, as I said, has that four-wheel drive. It's deceptively quite, sturdy, good pushing power as well. So, will it be enough for them to maybe pit Ripperoni? Ripperoni trying to do something with their weapon, doesn't get any sort of spin up whatsoever. Ripperoni, spinning up now. They're spinning the other way, spinning backwards. That's a good tactic. Look at it shaking around the arena floor. It's like it's had too much sugar. Well, it has had too much sugar. It's fighting Mr. Waffles and it's eaten the bacon blade and the syrup to go along with it. And, well, it's more damage to Mr. Waffle there, but the weapon of Ripperoni has stopped once more. Has the robot stopped? No, still going. Very tentative between the two. That first kind of few exchanges was where all the damage was done. Ripperoni and Mr. Waffle going blow to blow since then. Not an easy one to call. If I was a judge, should it go to the judges? We are getting later and later on in the fight. Ripperoni and Mr. Waffle, will there be a decisive winner here? Well, we are going to go to the judges, it seems. The counter is on the screen. Ripperoni has stumbled out of the gate as a champion, let's say that much. And Mr. Waffle,
6.
a good recovery after losing their weapon early on. It goes to the judges for our first fight of the night. Well, all the major damage in the fight was done early on. We saw the two weapons come together once and then subsequently a second time. There, off comes the bacon blade. That kind of ruined any potential knockout blows, I suppose, from these two. Ripperoni were decent enough, kept out of trouble. They managed to escape the corner of the arena and eventually they did start spinning the weapon backwards as well. Will that be enough to swing it in their favour, that show that their weapon was still actually functional, even causing damage to Mr. Waffle right here?
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Mr. Waffle. For the second year running, our defending international champs crash out at the first hurdle as the baconless Mr. Waffle marches on to the next round. Next up, it's Battle Rick's veterans Nightmare against the new boys Disgruntled Guardian.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Our first ever entrant from Norway then, the Disgruntled Guardian, but not Celtic, of course. Down comes the big hammer there of Disgruntled Guardian, very speedy around the arena floor. Our very first Norwegian entrant into LEGO Wars, and the Canadian entry Nightmare, meanwhile, known for its big hits, known for its enormous weapon power. They're bailing for the pit, surely not against a complete rookie and newcomer. Disgruntled Guardian zipping around the arena very nicely. The hammer comes over the top, very similar to Ragnarok from BattleBots. Oh, over goes Nightmare! Flipped over by the Disgruntled Guardian. The hammer caught them out. Top-heavy Nightmare turned over. And Disgruntled Guardian, on their LEGO Wars debut, is going to get a very, very famous win here. Brilliant attack there, good control. And Disgruntled Guardian zipping around the arena as it is doing at the moment. Looks very, very nippy and speedy, doesn't it? Excellent stuff from them. They are going to get a win, I think, on the board. They're dragging the carcass of Nightmare so they can push them down the pit a little bit easier. This is great control. And for a complete novice, a complete newcomer, that is very, very impressive. Down the pit will go Nightmare any second now. There
6.
it goes. And Disgruntled Guardian on debut wins. Well done to the Norwegians. Well, despite all their experience, it just didn't really matter in the end, did it, for Nightmare? They were pushed around and bullied by the newcomers, Disgruntled Guardian, out of the blocks like a shot. The hammer mech, borrowed and designed very closely by Agrowobbers, was very effective. Over went Nightmare. Good turned over there. Great control from the Disgruntled Guardian as well. And there, the coup de grace. The pit beckoning for Nightmare. And down they went. Disgruntled Guardian through.
A very impressive display from DG as they sink Nightmare's international run for another year. Now it's Petunia's chance to shake off their recent shaky form against Project Shadow.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Petunia then, the former international champions from, well, the very first international champion from the Robo Nerd special as it was back in the day, taking on our latest entry from Japan, Project Shadow, of course, taking over from King B of the past and Mecha Bowser before it. Oh, and immediately causing enormous damage to Petunia there. The lower jaw of the grab and lift setup has been ripped away. And I think Petunia have realised they were trying to lift there. You saw the tail going down at the back. They were trying to lift up Project Shadow there because they thought they were underneath. The problem is they have no bottom jaw anymore. They can't lift anymore. So what did Petunia do now? They're back in their sort of original setup, the grabber setup, but that's about it. And Petunia here have got work to do against Project Shadow because when it comes to the judges' criteria, their lower jaw coming off is going to massively hamper their weapon effectiveness, isn't it, really? Let's face it, and we've seen the effectiveness there of Project Shadow and their weapon because they've ripped the lower jaw away from Petunia. Oh my word, this is a massive upset in the making here. Petunia have work to do here against Project Shadow, the latest entrant from Japan. Of course, you know, we're seeing a generational performance here maybe from Project Shadow. They're trying their best to inflict some doom on Petunia. Can they do so here? Petunia spinning and bumping with Project Shadow. That's better, much better. Round the back of Project Shadow, down comes the crushing arm. Can they get any sort of purchase on the chassis? No. Gets away. Project Shadow spinning up their weapon once again. Petunia trying to get that crushing claw onto the wheels of Petunia. Project Shadow at the moment, I'd say, on top after that initial impact and damage caused there to Petunia again. The front wedge buckled and bent. Pit burn activated by Project Shadow, and there goes more of the front panel of the Petunia defences peeled back to one side. So far, Project Shadow, I would say, massively on top. And Petunia have a lot of work to do here. The former winners of the International Special, they've not really got going, have they, in this fight? Project Shadow is showing them levels so far. Maybe signs of age and, you know, no longer being the cream of the crop Petunia. Maybe that's creeping in. Project Shadow, a newer robot. It's only their second, well, it will only be their second full series when LEGO Wars 5 finally comes around. Oh, damage sustained there by Petunia again. At the moment, I'd say the newcomer, or the newer comers, let's say, certainly on top. Petunia here have got work to do, and I don't think they're going to be able to get anything out of this fight because Project Shadow is too quick, it's too agile, and we are going to go to a judge's decision. Well, unless Petunia can get a surprise knockout here, I think there's only going to be one winner. Project Shadow have been absolutely superb in this fight. It's going to go to a decision, but I don't know if Petunia have got enough in them to win this one. It's a shame for the former champions. Well, the major damage was done early on in the first attack, really. The lower mandible of Petunia's Keith setup ripped away, and that kind of dictated the pace of the fight from then on in. Petunia were chasing and harassing Project Shadow as much as they could do, but without that lower weapon, weren't really able to score many points in terms of lifting and, you know, turning Project Shadow over. They were damaged as well a few times by the horizontal spinner of Project Shadow. For me, there's only one winner. Over to the judges.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Project Shadow. International 5 is starting to get a whiff of champions as two of our previous international champs have fallen in round 1. Let's see if Agro can right the ship for tournament-winning robots against Weldor M.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
England and Northern Ireland go head-to-head. Weldor M, with the horizontal spinner, has become a lot more of a serious competitor in recent years, taking on our former LEGO Wars champion Agro Wobber, representing England. Down comes the big hammer on top of, and causing all kinds of damage there to Weldor M. The top panel has been broken into the robot, and I think part of the drive of Weldor M has stopped as well. Look there, the kind of, if you're looking at it with the weapon at the back there, the right hand side wheel is not turning. They are not getting out of their circumference. Could that be the end of the fight already? They're being pushed around here by Agro Wobber, who seem to have kind of picked up a little bit of form in this fight here. They've struggled in recent competitions, it has to be said. They didn't have a great time, let's say, in LEGO Wars Champions. They were promptly beaten in the first round. Well, as all the champions were, weren't they, in Lego Wars Champions in the final. Weldor M still crab walking, but slowly, inexorably being pushed towards the pit. They still believe that they are the best hammerbot in the series, Aggro Wobber. I suppose it could be, although there's definitely a few robots that will try and lay claim for that title. Shatterstar definitely being one of them. Aggro Wobber stands off because I think Weldor M has stopped and is definitely stopped now, yet being counted out. Weldor M is dead on the arena floor. They cannot move, and a nice simple win and a very comfortable win for Aggro Wobber to start off their international campaign for England. Well done to Aggro Wobber. It's performances like this that kind of illustrate why Aggro Wobber is a former LEGO Wars champion. The hammer coming down multiple times at the start there. Bang, bang, bang. Off comes the top armour. There, buried into the top of the robot. Half the robot is already dead at this point already. They've lost one side of drive. And there, hitting once again on top of Weldor, has stopped the robot completely. Bye-bye, Weldor. See you next time. Aggro Wobber through to the next round.
A dominant display from the Series 3 champs as they bludgeon Weldor into submission. Now it's an all-vert fight as two international rookies, Monsoon and Flashover Delta, take on one another.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Monsoon representing England, Flashover Delta representing Germany. Flashover have been in LEGO Wars a long time ago, back in the Series 2 qualifiers. Monsoon, of course, very established BattleBots robot, and of course these days a very decent LEGO Wars entry as well. Flashover Delta returning to their vert roots way back when White Hole obliterated the original Flashover robot. And Monsoon there, I saw that the wheel has come completely off the drive motor there on that one hand side, and the weapon of Monsoon, that first initial impact has stopped working. Monsoon are in all kinds of trouble here. Flashover Delta, it may be a new robot in LEGO Wars, but this is a very competent looking newcomer. They say they took a lot of inspiration from notorious LEGO robot Pain, but they took it with a little pinch of salt, and they added a little bit of seasoning to make it a lot more fallible, they said, but more fun. And that is evident here, because that weapon on Flashover is causing all kinds of carnage to Monsoon. Monsoon have got very little here that they can do. The English entry. Oh, and there goes the drive pod completely ripped away by Flashover. And Monsoon here are in all kinds of bother. They have no hope at this point, I think, unless, I know, Flashover decide they just fancy driving down the pit and calling it a day, but I don't think that's going to happen. Flashover Delta, what a return. And to LEGO Wars in general, but what a return to form here. Monsoon, I think that's the receiver being ripped away there. Monsoon being absolutely trashed by Flashover on his return to LEGO Wars. The first fight for this robot, and a monstrous win, pitting Monsoon. Well, hands up if you had that result coming, because I certainly didn't. Monsoon's weapon destroyed from the start. Shortly afterwards, their drive pod just flapped away in the wind, didn't it? It didn't last very long at all. That is a weakness that they'll have to cure in the future. Monsoon ripped away completely there. Look, and in the end, Flashover, an absolute, not a flash in the pan, Monsoon destroyed and subsequently pitted in some style. Flashover through to round 2.
A very limp performance from the hinged vert as Flashover Delta moves on to the next round. They'll face the winner of our next bout as Kato and Omeganator do battle once more. These two fought back in Series 3 under Omeganator's original Detonator guise, where their well-known axe weakness was put on full display. With this potentially being Omeganator's last run, they'll be determined to go out on a high.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
It's always nice seeing Omeganator back in the arena. Haven't seen them for a while, representing Ukraine in the international specials once again. Kato and Nemoidia have changed allegiances. They formerly represented England, but yeah, they now represent Iceland, because the builder of Kato and Nemoidia has once been on holiday to Iceland. I suppose that's enough for Dominic Parkinson back in the day on Robot Wars with Kilohertz. I suppose it's good enough for us. And Kato and Nemoidia will be trying to do the Icelandics proud here. Trying to give them the big old clap as they used to do back in the Euros back in 2016, if you remember that, and they used to do the big clap with the crowd together. And Omeganator, meanwhile, currently looking like detonated it after it fought Frenzy back in the Down Robot Wars, because Omeganator here is getting absolutely trashed by Kato Nemoidia. Kato Nemoidia is looking absolutely brilliant so far. Pit button activated. They're confident they've got enough in hand to try and push Omeganator down the pit. Omeganator, the last surviving remnant of the DGS project when it comes to robots. Not much else left going on there after the builder stepped away from robots. Kato Nemoidia, meanwhile, looking fresh, looking aggressive. Down comes the hammer, slowly there, but much more systematic there. Look at that, down it comes, bang, bang. And Omeganator getting absolutely peppered at the moment by Kato Nemoidia. Down it comes again and again. Can it chop the side armour away? I don't know. Omeganator really struggling to get away from that arena wall, because Kato Nemoidia is being absolutely ruthless here, it has to be said. This is the most impressive I've seen it in quite a while. And Omeganator here are up against it, against a top quality opponent, racking up all of the points for aggression, for damage, for weapon effectiveness, for control. Just tens across the board. And Omeganator pitted in some style. Kato Nemoidia with a superb win. Well, this fight may be a sign of Omeganator falling behind with the times. They didn't really make many changes or improvements to the robots for this competition, and it kind of showed, really. Omeganator outclassed by Kato Nemoidia, the big hammer from the Icelandic entry, slamming down over and over and over again, causing enormous cranial damage to Omeganator, and it was just systematic pounding from Kato Nemoidia that did in for Omeganator before slowly pushing them down the pit.
A potentially sad end to one of our OGs as Kato moves on to fight Flashover in the next round. Now it's Panic Attack's chance to fix their poor international form against Muffin.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
The Welsh take on the Aussies then in our 7th fight of the night. Panic Attack, of course, former LEGO Wars champions, never really replicated that success in the internationals, only making it past the first round once. Early on, normally they tend to drive down the pit, but they're also definitely not the force they once were in LEGO Wars, but they're still a decent benchmark here. Muffin, meanwhile, a newcomer last time, a kind of a stopgap entry as it turned out last time, but were given another opportunity for this series after, of course, they got that famous win over Emulator, of course, putting the second seeds down the pits. Emulator, I'm sure, will hope to get their revenge at some point on Muffin, but at the moment Muffin's attention is focused firmly on Panic Attack, the former champions of LEGO Wars, the first series champions of LEGO Wars. They try to use their lifting force to get in underneath the sides of Muffin like that and lift Muffin off the floor, and have done so. Muffin now very much at the mercy of Panic Attack. Panic Attack has them in the air. Panic Attack, good slam on the arena wall. And again, bang! Good driving from Panic Attack. Now, what can they do with Muffin? They've got complete control of the opponents. They've got them in the sky. They currently can't get down. Can Panic Attack release them? Of course, they can only hold them for so long before it's deemed illegal to hold them. And look, Panic Attack are lifting themselves off the floor there. They're trying to bring their forks down, but they're only pushing Muffin into the floor. Panic Attack themselves can't get Muffin off their forks. Lads, any suggestions? Panic Attack still with the forks buried deep within Muffin's rear. I'm sure nothing happened there. Panic Attack now has Muffin once again on the forks. Now pushing them around the arena floor. Can they release Muffin? They've still got the forks buried in the nether regions of Muffin here. This is a gruesome image to look at, it has to be said. Muffin still now released. That'll be music to their ears because they have got work to do here. Panic Attack on top after that initial attack. No panicking here from Muffin, although we are slowly ticking on in the fight, and another good attack from Panic Attack. They're lifting up Muffin at the front now. Muffin's ground clearance very low at the front, but they're being beaten in the ground game by Panic Attack's lifting forks, and that will be of concern to them. Although Panic Attack, are they in trouble as well here? They're kind of pulling to one side. They're not driving completely true and straight, but that's not too much of an issue for them. They won't mind that, and it is going to go to a decision here, and all of the armour has just suddenly fallen off of Muffin. Well, that's in keeping with tradition, I suppose. It is going to go to time,
6.
and the judges will have a decision to make here between the Australians and Muffin and the Welsh and Panic Attack. A steady, if not spectacular, fight between the former champions and Muffin here. Initially, Panic Attack did struggle to get in underneath, and Muffin's ground game proved better than maybe the former champions expected, but Panic Attack did get the kind of one or two meaningful attacks in the fight here, getting in underneath Muffin and slamming them into the wall, even able to push them into the floor on occasion as well. Muffin did have their moments, but they were a bit few and far between, and it will be a tough one for them to win.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Panic Attack. They laboured to the win, but Panic Attack is through to the round 2 for the first time since the second special. Now, I'm just going to walk away for a few minutes because this fight's just silly. It's just silly. I'm done. I'm done. Sam, you're on your own.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Mastiff versus Lemmings then, our final fight of tonight. Mastiff, the Italian entry, taking on Lemmings, the French entry. Crabantine, turned over, but Mastiff has also lost its flipper arm. Now, Lemmings, it is important to note, all 3 parts of Lemmings have to be eliminated in order for the robot to be eliminated. That is the rule with the cluster bots in LEGO Wars, and Mastiff are going to have their work cut out here, taking out all 3 of their opponents. They've taken out one by the looks of things. Crabantine up and over, against the wall, over and out. Mastiff, meanwhile, going face to face with, I believe that's Squire. They've got 3 robots in the arena at any one time, Lemmings, but they are allowed up to 4. And currently they have 3 in the arena. Mastiff and Lemmings will be trying to go face to face. I don't really know what's going on with the other mini-bot. I think they've hit the pit button. I'm going to assume that's what happened, and the pit just didn't fall down. That's good. Mastiff, meanwhile, being bullied around by Squire. I think
David Hightfierce
arena as well in this fight. And Mastiff is kind of pinned on its own armour panel, which has come off, and I think could be gifting a win to the Lemmings, unless, well, they've been able to recover there because
David
it got a
Hightfierce
bit greedy there, didn't it? It tried its best to kind of push Mastiff down the pit, didn't manage to do so, and now they've left themselves open to a potential scrap with the big boy that is Mastiff. Of course, if you remember back all the way back to the ESC podcast back in the day, I was the one who kind of rescued Mastiff from the pit of oblivion, and I sent them to the arena in the sky, and since then it has become a thing, much to David's poor mental health, I think. Mastiff, meanwhile, speaking of poor driving almost from Mastiff there, almost down the pit, but they are back in the centre of the arena and safe, taking on Squire,
David Hightfierce
trying to chase down as well. Mastiff, they're trying their best, but the fact that they're taking on 2 opponents at once is really a challenge because they are so nimble and manoeuvrable that you can only really defend from one angle, and that's costing Mastiff here. They can't. The fact that they lost their flipper blade so early on as well definitely doesn't help. Mastiff and Squire go blow to blow. I can't see anything. This is the best view we've got, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently one of the other cameras had an issue, and as such, this is the best angle of the fight we've got. But hey, you know what? We move. Mastiff, if you look at the reflection at the back, you can kind of see what's going on in the background.
David Hightfierce
Circling around the pit and goes round the back of Mastiff. Mastiff face to face with Squire. Can they push Mastiff down the pit? It'd be a great upset if they're able to achieve that against the big robot. Mastiff pushes back into the corner along with the corpse of Crabantine. Squire keeps Mastiff penned in, and we are going to go to time here. So the Lemmings are going to survive here. The French entry can have Mastiff done enough by knocking out one of the cluster bots to take the decision. It goes to the judges. What a fight! A good way to describe this fight was cursed. Mastiff early on losing its lifting arm and Crabantine eliminating itself kind of set the tone, really. The Lemmings of Squire and
David
tried
Hightfierce
their best but were unable to knock out Mastiff, and Mastiff wasn't really able to do much of their own damage to their opponents either. They couldn't get them down the pit when got greedy here after Mastiff was immobilised on its own armour panel, and from then on in it was mostly Squire and Mastiff going face to face for the duration. Tough one to call this.
And the winner, allegedly, by unanimous decision, is Lemmings. Where? With frankly a chaotic dumpster fire of a fight, we're halfway through our first round. It's been a wild start to this year's special as our defending champs stumbled out the door, while former champs Agawamba looks to be finally back on form, and the Lemmings have shown to be just as cursed as they were back at Robonerd. RIP. That's all from us tonight, but join us next time as we complete the first round. For now though, I've been your host David of Smeg, and we'll see you in the next one.
Now let's stand for the French national anthem.
Please.
The other one.
This is your fault, Henry.